Hello everyone and welcome back. We're going to be jumping to game 3 in the series and it's going to be on Frigid Pass. We have taken a look at the map and pretty easy, shouldn't be too different. So let's just jump right in and get this game started. Here it is, guys. Welcome back. This is game 3 in this best of 3 in round 2 between Lure in the 7 o'clock position representing Old Generations as our yellow Protoss against his opponent in the 11 o'clock position, Shine as our red Zerg representing Team SCV Life. These guys are tied up 1-1. And they are at vertical positions, so pseudo kind of close ground positions. It's still a really long rush distance, don't get me wrong, but a little bit closer than obviously in cross positions, and I believe the ground distance is closer than close air, but I could be wrong about that, so I'll have to find that out. Ask Prodigy or...
Yeah, that would indeed be interesting. I'm not sure. I feel like this is the closest, and maybe when you factor in the distance to the natural because you're kind of expanding closer to your opponent. I don't know, but either way, the rush distance is still so long that even when it's like when you look at the mini map of this and you say like, it looks like Shakura's Plateau. It's like no, you can't have these kind of spawn locations, but in reality, it's a pretty long walk. It should be balanced, but of course, adjustments can be made if necessary.
Oh, of course. Adjustments can always be made. And it looks like since this probe found Lure's base first, how lucky for Lure right now, because this is one of those maps where it's so big, it's kind of like on Tal'Darim Altar, where it's like, if you actually scout your opponent last, or sometimes even second, depending on when you scout, they might actually be able to go hatch first. But instead, since Lure scouted him first, got a little bit lucky, and now Shine's going to be forced to 14 pool.
Yep, which is not too big of a deal, though.
Right.
He's pretty used to that, but it's just the kind of thing where, most Zerg players would, prefer to go for that hatch first, but there's a lot of Zerg players out there who will still just blindly 14 pool, even if they haven't been scouted.
Yeah, that's very true. It's just become a more standard part of the metagame. Looks like Shine. I love this move. This is something so many players underestimate. Even though he doesn't have the minerals for the hatchery, he makes it look like he wants to drop the hatchery, and that makes Lure either commit to dropping the pylon or just getting out of there. And if you do commit them into dropping the pylon, sometimes they can kind of mess up their build, and they don't have the minerals for their forge quite yet. So you can just kind of throw him off. He does have the minerals to actually drop that hatchery, but yet again, he chooses to go for the queen and forwardlings before doing so. So I'm really surprised that Shine continues to want to do that. I mean, he's got to know he's not actually going to bust through his opponent's front door unless he makes like some grave mistake. So I'm just really surprised that he consistently wants to do that instead of just taking that hatchery, just that much quicker.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I've always felt just the sooner that your hatchery gets up, especially the one at your natural, the better. But he seems to like getting his queen out, and I can't fault him for that. Meanwhile, the Zergling is heading out. One of them actually in hot pursuit of this probe here. Looks like they're both heading to the watchtower, so that probe not really going to be able to do too much. Is this cannon not going to be up in time? Is that...
Dude, you cannot be that risky. You can't be that greedy. Oh my god. He went to return his minerals. All you have to do is leave your probe there so that you can drop that pylon if lings come. But he was so greedy, he wanted to return a single mineral he had in his mouth to that nexus. And now 3 lings get into his base, and that's really annoying. Not only do they get full scouting information, but they're going to cause quite a bit of missed mining time, if not get a couple probe kills.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, it's the kind of thing that just will kind of put you on tilt a little bit. You won't be able to focus as much. You won't be paying as much attention to, like your probe on the map. During all of this, that single Zergling did clean up the probe at the top right main. So that's the kind of thing that microing that sucker is going to be easier if you don't have to worry about all these Zerglings in your main base. So definitely an unfortunate start here for Lure.
Absolutely going to be a lot harder to just kind of play that standard macro game, especially since we saw in the first 2 games he started out with pretty much an identical opener. So it seems like he has his builds just really mapped out. And when that happens, and then your build kind of gets interrupted by something like this, he even loses a probe there, then it kind of just messes up your entire build order, and you have to really adapt and play a little bit more dynamically. Now, there is a Zealot out that can kind of prevent these lings from doing any more damage, but if they're microed correctly, you should be able to continue getting some more scouting information for a little while here. Meanwhile, we did see Shine go for that standard 3-hatch no gas. Let's see if he drops double gas here at the 6-minute mark. That would indicate, 6-minute mark, double gas. That's pretty standard to be able to get that Roach and Evo chamber. So you can get out Roaches in time for any type of +1 Zealot shenanigans. But his Overlord does scout that there's actually no +1 on the way here for Lure, despite being at 250 gas yet again. So he might just try to go for that same build. In fact, dropping the Robo before 3rd gas this game, since he knows he doesn't have the probes to really be able to saturate that gas and still have enough mineral income. Really, really adaptive, smart play from Lure here.
Yeah, he's got to be careful though. I mean, it's a little bit risky there with that Zergling still in the main. You know, he might be running around the main and say, "Hey, there's no buildings here. Let me just suicide this sucker down the ramp, and maybe I'll see a Stargate or a Robo." And that's exactly what he would see. So it's tricky, and we do now see the double gas coming down at the natural. So I kind of feel like we may just see a big two-base timing come out from Lure at this point because it's going to be an awkward game to transition from, especially with that third base already up and pretty well saturated for Shine.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to try to chrono out as many probes as possible. Now, he could change this out and play macro game, but he most likely from this, with that really fast double gas, will try to just really pump out a lot of sentries, a lot of immortals, and go for an attack. But you never know. It's possible he'll just, get that really quick double gas because, he got his third gas late and he needed to catch up for it and just get a bunch of sentries just defensively and try to take that third again like we saw from him in the first game. It's still yet to be seen. The Roach Warren's about to complete from Shine, and he is going for that lair yet again. It's already halfway done. So that's why he's getting that third gas. In fact, he's getting 4 gas here. So Shine, maybe we'll see him just drop a couple extra upgrades because of that. Maybe he'll actually get Burrow this game with that 4th gas. Maybe we'll see him take up to Hydra just a little bit quicker after getting Roaches or something. It's yet to be seen. But of course, you can support just Roachling with Lair Tech off of 3 gas if you want.
Yeah. And then back at Lure's base here, he is going up to 5 gateways. This is still, by no means an all-in he's setting up for. And he's actually got the additional observers queued up. He's got a 3rd one in production. He's already got 2 out. So he may just try to take a 3rd here. And this is definitely a map where, I generally a 3rd is not that difficult to take, but it's going to be tricky here. And I'm just going to be really interested to see exactly which base he wants to take. I imagine it would be the westernmost one, but it's going to be hard. There's a lot of ground you got to cover.
There really is. I mean, the amount of space between the natural and the 3rd, I mean, it's not huge, but it's just really wide open. And these types of really wide open spaces, it's hard to play against Roach Maxes because generally these types of strategies really rely on excellent force fields. And we do see Burrow this game coming out from Shine. If he gets Burrow movement, force fields just end up being a lot less effective. And when you already have this big of an area, you have to drop so many force fields just to wall off the Roaches. So this is going to be quite hard. This is just a map that's going to be difficult for Lure to accomplish this on. He is already getting a Twilight Council and a 2nd Forge, though. So we'll probably just see Blink and double upgrades from him. I'm wondering if he's going to be able to support that, though. Usually it's just so difficult, especially in PvZ, to actually properly support double Forge off of only 2 bases. So, I mean, I know he's preparing for a 3rd, but to take it in advance of that, it seems like the double Forges won't really kick in before Roaches just start battering down his front door. So it could be a little bit of a risk.
Yeah, that's exactly how I see it too. If you see right now 8 Overlords in production, that basically means that Shine is just going to be able to make a retarded amount of Roaches after this. He's even getting Burrow movement too, which is a great idea for when you know your opponent is going to be relying heavily on force fields. So we'll see. It's just going to be a test. Can he hold? This isn't Cloud Kingdom, so it's going to be harder. But man, if he can hold here, then I mean, he can definitely hold on Cloud Kingdom.
Yeah, if he can hold here, he should be able to hold it anywhere. I love the decision to wall off that 3rd. I don't know if that's a full wall, if you can let units through the bottom there or not. But it's just a great move. I mean, even if Roaches come up and start killing your gateways, it buys you so much time. You can drop force fields, kill off the Roaches. Lings can't just stream through. That's the most important part. If Lings get past and then you drop your force fields, you've already lost the game. You have to get those forces beforehand. So the gateways really help with that. He did leave a little choke point so he can get through there if he wants. And this observer positioning is just perfect. He's got them outside that 3rd so he can watch it. He's got them watching for Roach reinforcements coming there as well. And he's got them watching these Roaches coming in towards the natural. But here comes a multi-pronged attack here from Shine. He's already at 190 food here. This could be so hard to hold off force fields. Unfortunately, not quite the best. They do keep a lot of the Roaches out, but so many of them got actually really close. They're starting to pick off the sentries, and you can't afford to lose sentries right now. Meanwhile, he's also starting to lose some of those gateways.
Yeah, he's doing a good job buying time there. He was able to engage pretty well, still keeping those 2 Immortals alive. But can he actually hold here? There's just going to be tons of units streaming across. You can see in the production tab, mostly reinforcing with Zerglings here, which is a very smart choice. Once you get the front door busted down, you just stream in Zerglings, especially when you know your opponent's going to be relying mostly on Immortals here. And it looks like oh man, it's like no. even if he survives this initial wave of Roaches, it's just not going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where, with the first engagement, his force fields were just a little bit late. And what happens is, yes, he was able to stay alive, but you end up having to drop twice as many force fields as you need to just to keep the Roaches away from you. And it's one of those situations I always talk about in PvZ against, this type of 3-hatch play. If you miss one force field, you lose the game. That's actually the way the matchup is right now. If you try to take a third that late, unless you're taking your third at like the 7-minute mark and trying to like macro up behind it, there's the GG, by the way. Nice play by Shine, 2-1. Unless you, take your third really early or something, if you try to take your third that late, you literally can't miss a single force field or the game's over. And he missed a force field. His force fields were a moment late when the roaches came in, and you don't have enough sentries, man. You just can't. You don't have enough force fields. You don't have enough sentries. You start losing sentries because the roaches are too close, and it spirals out of control from there. It's just standard ZVP, unfortunately.
I'm sad that eliminates Lure. That game 1. I'm just going to be going around to people saying, hey guys, make sure you watch this VOD of this game on Cloud Kingdom, because it's actually one of the best, if not the best PvZs I've ever seen. Just, it is so smart. Unfortunately, the next 2 games not quite as good. This game was tough, but
looks like a lot of my latter PvZs.
Yeah, exactly. It's the kind of thing where you've got this brilliant scheme in your head all mapped out, and then you try and execute it, and you make one tiny mistake, and then it just, that's the dominoes falling over. They all tumble pretty quick.
I think his build didn't necessarily have too many like actual errors with it. I mean, and the force fields as well. But I think what we were talking about earlier, it's so subtle. But the double forge, like I think maybe if he hadn't gone for the double forge there, that's just a lot of gas investment into level 2 upgrades that he didn't have done yet. I mean, at the end there, I'm looking, he had +2 attacks and +2 armor 3/4 of the way done. So, what is that, 300, 300, right? That's invested into that. That could have been 3 more sentries. I mean, you can't look at it in a vacuum, but it's just one of those things where it's like, maybe if you didn't go double forge, you'd be able to afford more units to be able to defend that third. I don't know, maybe more cannons behind those gateways or something. I think there's also a lot he could do in terms of, I like the wall leading behind the third, but I think maybe the other choke point, I guess it's to this direction on the camera, to the right. Maybe if you put some stuff there as well. You don't have to full wall it, but put like a pylon and a gateway, or maybe a couple cannons, just so that the roaches start auto-attacking that, because I don't, this is going to sound so negative, but Zergs don't usually like micro a ton when they're doing this build, They're like making roaches as hard as they can and kind of rallying them to your base. So
spamming the R button.
Hey man, I wouldn't say if it doesn't happen in professional matches, but you see the best Zergs in the world, and the roaches are just auto-attacking cannons instead of running in to go for the sentries. So little things like that, if he just puts a couple buildings in that choke point, maybe it would have helped him out with his force fields. Would have already had some division with such a huge choke point. But either way, it's all hypothetical. Lure, as you said, played so fantastically in the first game, and I'm still going to be hyping the guy up in the future. But that means Shine's moving on. Well played. So we're going to move into our next match. Oh my god, this should be good. Todd against Crank. I mean, I'm personally a Protoss. I'm a fan of PvP and everything, but these guys are just excellent players as well. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back with that. Another one of our foreigner hopes here after this quick commercial break.